friend Doug has been playing guitar for many years. He's kind of a blues specialist on the guitar, so as such he has one of those funny blues stage names. He calls himself Suitcase because he's always willing to pack a suitcase and go on a road trip for a gig. And he asked me to build him a harmonica amp, which I procrastinated on far too long. But I'm finally getting around to doing it. I decided to build the amp into a suitcase. So there's the basic layout. And it's kind of a tight fit. I thought I was going to be able to get one speaker in there, but it turns out I can fit two, which is good. And I put a couple of wooden rails in here to screw the aluminum plate down to, which my chassis for the circuit is this piece that I cut out of an aluminum cookie sheet. And it's going to fit right in here like this. And it'll be held on with screws. And now you may be wondering, how do you build a whole amp in there? Because it is kind of a tight fit. It's going to be arranged pretty much like this. These are just sitting here, of course. I haven't drilled holes yet. But I made a layout on my computer, which I'll put up on the screen so you can see it. But all the wiring is going to be on the bottom. And then I cut out a template for drilling. Here's the template that I cut on the laser cutter. My silly Chinese laser cutter turns everything backwards when I cut it, so I have to flip it over. The lines here represent the rail that this thing sits on. So all of this circuit has to happen in between the two rails. So now I just have to mark all these with a punch and drill them through. I'm using a butterfly bit instead. It's amazing how soft this cookie sheet is. Works pretty well, I think. I just need to clean it up with a file. That looks like it'll work. That needs to be a lot bigger. Well, there it is. It fits. I hope I have all the right size pop rivets here. There's a hardware store nearby. Fortunately, even though I live out in the boondocks, there's still a hardware store nearby, which is pretty nice. Oh yeah, these install from the top. I forgot about that. Now I just need to put in my terminal strips so I can attach things. Yeah, I caught myself doing something stupid there for a second. I forgot, I have a little terminal strip that goes right there. And then the wires are going to come out of the transformer through that hole. Well, there's something else I hadn't thought of. There's supposed to be a rubber grommet in there. So here's a rubber grommet. Trim this one. Yeah, I'll probably just trim the edge and it'll fit. Yeah, look at that. That fits perfectly. Don't tell anybody I messed it up. And before doing anything else, I need to see if this thing will fit in here between these two rails. It's a very small space. Seems to fit. I don't have a problem with that. Now my suitcase has some really nice finish washers And I didn't want to pay premium for brass screws, so I just used the ones that look like fake brass. But I used those to attach the board for the speakers. And I think mainly what it does is it keeps the case a lot more sturdy with all the extra weight in it than it would be otherwise. But I need to take the board back out right now because I need to mount the output transformers here, and here. So I got to drill a hole through so I could put a nut and bolt to hold both transformers in place. My son showed up with this gadget that I think is pretty neat. You might find one of these gadgets and say, what would I ever use that for? Well, now we know. If you're building a suitcase amp, you might need it to get the board out. That's pretty handy. I got this board loose, now I can go drill some holes in it. I have a bunch of old screws. They look like they're just the right thing for this project. I pulled this transformer out of an old amp that I had built 15 years ago. So I'll need to take that off and extend the wires. And look at that, it was far enough to engage the nylon. Now I just need to replace that. See if I can make the screw go back in the same hole. That shouldn't be too hard. Make sure I don't pinch any of my wires. I don't know if you noticed, but I countersank that one, just so it won't be in the way later. And it's time to get everything wired up. The heater filaments are on pin 2 and 7 of 6V6 tube. Just wire them all up here. Well, turns out I did have enough green wire to do all these, get them all linked up. Fortunately, the green wires on my transformer are long enough to reach all the way over here to this tube socket, so that's nice. Okay, now the soldering iron's hot. Got myself a spool of classic 60/40. Yeah, I even cleaned all the garbage out of my old used terminal strip so I can use it again. I think the smart thing to do is to put all the big pieces in, because we always do what's the smart thing to do, right? So I think I'll do the big pieces and the foundational stuff and all the wiring that goes on the floor before I start tying resistors and capacitors on. Yeah, it's something really weird. If you order from Mauser, you can order one piece. I got two in case I need another one. Something that costs 65 cents, who cares, right? But you order a piece, they put it in a little bag, then they put that bag in another bag, put the sticker on, It's crazy. And they put all their bags in another bag. I have another bag around here that this is all stuffed in. Then they put taper on the bag. I swear they spend more money on packaging than they do on the products. So this is the cathode resistor for the power tube. It's got a bypass capacitor on it, which greatly increases gain. Not sure why that is, but it does. These are the crappiest wire snippers I've ever had in my life. I made a printout of my chart of where everything goes. So that goes there. And there's a funny one. This one's just in one bag, but look at the size of the bag. It's crazy. They must have run out of little bags, which isn't surprising. They use them like crazy. They have only ½ an inch of leeway on the edges. So I think there's enough room there though for that to stuff down in between those two rails. I was just thinking, sometimes it freaks me out that everything we do uses electricity. I was just thinking I can't build this thing without electricity. What would I be doing? It's dark outside, so I should be sleeping. It's funny I can't build this without electricity, but you can't use it without electricity either. So when people used to just sing and maybe play an instrument, but nowadays we have so much electrical stuff. If you ever go to a gig with your band, all you're doing is hauling a bunch of electrical equipment in the door so you can play music for a few hours. And you got to haul it all back out. Those of you who've played in bands know what that's all about. You set up about 10 miles of wire on the stage. It's really ridiculous. So that's why I'm here making this electrical equipment, so we can all be ridiculous. Once you solder them to the terminals, they're a lot more firm. That's not going anywhere. I haven't soldered that yet, or that. I don't like to solder them until I put everything on there that's going to go in that location. I've been adding all of my components, capacitors and resistors. I found my favorite example so far of over-packaging at the Mauser warehouse. This is 4 potentiometers in a bag. And here are the potentiometers in a bag. Here's another bag that has all the little washers, 4 washers. Another bag with 4 nuts. Hilarious. So the way this circuit works, this is my own design. I'm not copying any commercially available amplifier. This is my own design for a harmonica amp. And it has 2 separate channels. Now, the way an amplifier usually works is that your signal goes in to a preamp tube and it's amplified, and then the signal is sent to the next preamp tube and then it's amplified a little more, and then it'll have a volume control at some point in the chain, and then it'll feed it to a power tube, feed the signal to a power tube, and then the power tube drives an output transformer which drives the speaker. So what my design has 2 power tubes and there's 2 signal chains, and the reason for that is because I want the 2 chains to sound different. And the reason for that is because a harmonica is a little squeaky toy and I want to give it a big voice with a complex and rich tone. So for those of you who aren't hip, the transformer has primary winding, and then it has 3 secondary windings. One of them is for the heater filaments, 6.3 volts. The other one is the high voltage line here, which is center tapped, so this goes to ground. These 2 go to the plates of the rectifier. And now the only thing left unwired is the power supply and the high voltage line, which attaches here and here. Another thing I haven't done yet is the signal going to the power tubes. Now, for those who may be curious what my amp sounds like, this is an amplifier that I built years ago from my own design, and it has the two channels. And the whole point of having two channels is not so that you can do one or the other, which you can, but it sounds the best when you use them together. Somebody turned it way up. There's one channel. Here's the other channel. And there's both channels. Well, I think this project is turning into a multi-part video. I thought I was kind of in the home stretch here because I built the whole circuit, but I'm trying to figure out how to put everything in here. This stuff fits as well as it needs to. And here's the amplifier circuit all built. All it needs is the volume controls and the input hooked up. And it's going to fit right in here, like this. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out how to connect and where to put the input and the volume controls. I'd kind of like to have the input and volume controls on the front of the, well, I guess that's the top of the suitcase. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to cut holes here for the sound to get out, or if you're going to go to a gig and put this on a stand or a table and open it up and maybe prop the lid up so that the sound bounces out to the audience. I think that would be kind of cool. But it would also be kind of cool to put some sort of a grill right here to just let the sound come out. And if that's the case, then the volume controls have to go on the front and the input jack. I could do that. But where does it's supposed to have 3 switches on it. There's a power switch and 2 standby switches. So if I'm going to put the volume control and input here, do I put the switches here? And if I do, that leaves a bunch of high voltage right there. So they should be in a box. And if they're in a box, it should be easy to take out screws and take the box out so you can get, if you ever need to take the amplifier out. It also occurs to me that I could put the switches right here, because there's a nice little spot. I put 1, 2, 3. And if I do that, what I'd like to do is put them into a box to where there's an opening on the outside, so it's like a little cave that you stick your finger in to flip the switches, so that you don't have this switch sticking out to bang into stuff when you move the suitcase around. So that's what I need to decide now, is what kind of enclosure I can build to put these in, and where they're going to go. So I guess I'll just stop this video there, and then I'll have a part 2 where I finish the project.